Okay, why am I overexposed? I swear to God, bitch. Before I get into this video, I did want to say that this was heavily inspired by a video I saw from Nicole Raffi. I think that's how you pronounce it. She made a video with the exact same title actually, so I kind of took that idea and made my own list of ways that I stopped hating myself. So yeah, I highly recommend watching hers because she also has a lot of good points in that video. Anyway, I did want to quickly mention my story of hating myself and learning to not hate myself. If you want to skip to the actual tips, I have the timestamps linked down below, but I did want to briefly talk about this. Basically, I did not hate myself whatsoever when I was growing up. I kind of didn't really think about anything like that, actually. It wasn't until high school that I actually started finding reasons to hate myself, and I think the reasons why I hated myself were mostly because of other people, because of society, what other people were telling me, because I was comparing myself to other people and hearing things about myself that I'd never considered to be bad until then, I guess. If you think about it, beauty standards were just made up by someone. No one is born and automatically hates certain parts of them or wants their face shape to be a certain way or their height to be a certain height or whatever. We learn those things because of society and because of what people are telling us, because of what we see in the media, etc., etc. Like someone just made up those beauty standards, but in reality, there is no good or bad way to look. There are no good or bad traits. We assign good and bad to traits. When I hated myself the most, I was the most depressed I've ever been in my life. I genuinely, at that point in my life, thought that I was a burden to everyone around me and that there was nothing good about me whatsoever. I despised myself. I despised my personality and everything about myself, basically. Obviously, that mindset is not fun to be in. That place to be in general sucks. It's really sad that as humans, we've let humanity and society get to that point where it's just so common for people to hate themselves. So now on to the actual tips and things that helped me to stop hating myself. Use social media responsibly. I'm not saying that you cannot use social media whatsoever, but I'm saying when you are using social media, make sure that you're being mindful about it instead of mindlessly getting lost in scrolling and constantly using social media as like a crutch. I'm still working on this one, but I think not using your phone right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up is also really, really helpful. And overall, just making sure that you're not following anyone that brings down the vibes or brings down the energy, makes you feel bad in any way. Make sure you're only following people that you genuinely like seeing their posts and their content. It can be really helpful to unfollow people if you start comparing yourself to them to an unhealthy level. Next, I have to mention this one as a writer myself. There's so many different ways that you can write too. So there's, you know, creative writing, journaling, etc., etc. There's so many different things you can do, and I think people don't really understand how beneficial writing can actually be. When I'm feeling really bad sometimes, I'll try to think of one thing I like myself, if not more than one thing that I like about myself. When you really, really hate yourself, it can be really hard to think of even one thing that you like about yourself. I think looking at it from an outsider perspective can also be really helpful, which is another one of my tips. So distancing yourself from yourself a little bit and imagining that you are someone else looking in on yourself, if that makes sense. What would you like about yourself if you were someone else? We just need to have that same compassion and kindness that we have for other people, for ourselves. Imagining if we were a friend to ourselves and seeing what we would do if we were someone else can be actually pretty helpful. Also, avoiding self-deprecating humor. This one is something I struggle with. Nicole mentioned this in her video, which I will have linked down below. But basically, when you continuously think or say negative things about yourself, you will eventually start to believe them, even if it's not on a conscious level. Like even on a subconscious level, you will probably start to internalize those things and actually believe them. I know it can be fun and whatever, but I would say that if you want to stop hating yourself, try to be more aware of when you're making self-deprecating jokes and using self-deprecating humor, and try to slowly shift that mindset. Going along with that and thinking positively, positive affirmations are also a really cool way for you to start thinking positively about yourself. So you can find positive affirmations, you know, online, on Google, Pinterest, whatever. If you print out some of your favorite ones or make a list of your own and put them somewhere where you will see them so that you can say them every day or think them every day or just read them every day. Basically, you just want to try to get those things into your head and continuously say them even if you don't necessarily fully or even partly believe them right now. Like with the self-deprecation, you will eventually start to internalize those things and believe them if you keep saying them, if you keep thinking them, if you keep reading them. So just keep going, fake it till you make it. As a Cancer, I am so good at this one. Basically, you just gotta romanticize the little things. Going back to the outsider perspective that I talked about a little bit earlier, if you go back into that outsider perspective, try to notice the little details about yourself that you would notice if you were someone else falling in love with yourself, if that makes any sense at all. It's also not really narcissistic, it's more in a self-love kind of way. Don't get too carried away with it, but if you're hating yourself, it's definitely okay to do. You gotta think of yourself as a main character sometimes, you know? Channel that Leo energy. You got this. Next is to change your style or look. If you've been subscribed to me for a long time, you know I've literally had so many hair colors, I can't even recall them. Sometimes when you hate yourself so much, it can be helpful to kind of change the energy like around you. So maybe go to a thrift store, buy some secondhand clothing in a style that you normally wouldn't wear, or listen to some music that you normally wouldn't listen to. Change up your hairstyle, get a different haircut, something like that. You just gotta change the vibes a little bit sometimes when you are in that place of hating yourself and it feels like you are stuck. This is something that I've been doing the past couple weeks and it's so helpful. I can't even explain. Even if you follow certain religions or have certain beliefs already, even basic spiritual elements such as meditation, yoga, whatever, just finding little things that you can do to channel your spirituality, become more connected and aware and present and in the moment. That can be so helpful. I don't think people realize how helpful it can actually be when you start meditating every day, when you start journaling every day, doing some shadow work every day. I recently started getting into tarot cards and crystals, and I find that it's so healing and helpful. The world of spirituality as a whole can seem super overwhelming, but just starting small and doing simple little things can really help you to not hate yourself. So that is all of the tips that I came up with. Obviously, learning to not hate yourself anymore is a journey and there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. So don't be too hard on yourself if some days are harder than others, or some weeks or months, or even some years are harder than others. If you have any other tips or want to share your thoughts about this topic, then make sure to comment down below and give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Also subscribe to me if you want to see more of my face, and I will see you next time. Peace out.